Welcome to a candidate forum featuring candidates for Galt City Council. I'm Suzanne Finney, a member of the League of Women Voters and your moderator for this forum. Today's forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. The forum is being viewed live by an audience here in the Sacramento Board of Supervisors chambers and by a live cable television audience at home. It is also being taped for rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of women and men established to promote political responsibility through informed, active participation in government. The League does not support, oppose, or evaluate political candidates or parties. Although our nonpartisanship policy does not permit endorsement of political candidates, we do, after careful study, take positions on political issues. The format for today's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will make a 1-minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will respond to questions from our panel. The questions were submitted by the panelists and reviewed by League members. Since we have a number of candidates participating in our forum, several speakers will be allowed a 1-minute answer, although not all speakers will answer each question. However, all candidates will have equal speaking time in the forum, and I will try to make the last question that I have all candidates respond to be an opportunity for them to address a question that they may have wanted to answer, but it wasn't directed to them. Finally, the candidates will have 1 minute to make a closing statement. In the interest of time and decorum, I ask our audience to hold all applause until the end of the forum. Now I would like to introduce the candidates who are running for Galt City Council. Starting at my far right, we have Donald Haynes, Mary Lou Powers, Andrew Meredith, Daryl Clare, Randy Shelton, and Tom Malson. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to participate in today's forum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sitting on our panel of questioners are Ross Yarrow from the Lodi News Sentinel and Rachel Ackerman with the Galt Herald. Thank you very much for also participating in this forum. And now we're ready to begin. The candidates have chosen numbers to indicate which position they will have in both opening and closing. And so to make it easy for them, we're going to start with Donald Haynes to my right for your opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Don Haynes. I'm 46 years old. My wife Maria and I have lived in Galt for 5.5 years with our 3 children. We have 2 of them currently in the Galt school system. I participate in the city. I'm on the Parks and Recs Commission. I've been part of the I Love My Town committee. I'm also the chairman of the Neighborhood Park Party committee. I've also spent 2 years on the Marengo Ranch Elementary School Site Council. The reason I'm running for City Council is simply because I go to the council meetings, and much like others, I feel like I don't feel like I'm being heard. I'm asking questions, or other people are asking questions, not getting answers. And in addition to that, great concerns about the direction that the city is being moved in. I don't feel that the people are being heard, and I feel that they're moving in a direction that is not consistent with what the public wants. And I have great concerns about where we may find ourselves in the next 5, 10, 15, or 20 years if we don't make some changes. So therefore, I've thrown my hat into the race, and it is my hope to make it on the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mary Lou Powers.
Good morning. My name is Mary Lou Powers, and I've been a resident of Galt for over 11 years. I have a son and extended family that live in and go to the schools around the Galt area. I have a proven record both in business and government. I was brought in to take over a failing business in Galt and carried it through the stages of bankruptcy and back into a very successful business. My previous work experience in city government has left me well versed in political procedures and policies. I'm not afraid to get my feet wet and solve critical issues within the city. Working in Galt affords me time to be a watchdog to how your tax dollars are being spent. I'm committed to helping Galt grow in a logical order with thriving businesses and tax revenues so we can gain more city services and provide jobs for people in our community. I am the Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, as well as Secretary of the Galt Economic Development Task Force, and a vote on the Architectural Review Board, allowing me to work closely with constituents and community leaders. A vote for me is a vote to make Galt a place your family and mine will be proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Andrew Meredith.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Meredith. I'm 26 years old, and I'm a third-generation resident of Galt, California. I returned home from the war in Iraq in November of this past year, intent on making a difference in my community. I am married with 2 girls, Lauren and Kaylee, ages 5 and 2, and their future in the community of Galt is now my #1 concern. What compelled me to run for City Council is that I want to give a voice back to the regular citizen in Galt. I'm starting to get the impression that the normal citizen in Galt does not have a chance at a City Council meeting. I will always have an open door policy, and I will conduct regular town hall meetings to gauge what the community wants to see the city do in the future. I believe that the city as a whole has 3 main concerns: public safety, schools, crime, and growth. I want to make these my #1 priorities in the upcoming race. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Darrell Clare.
Thank you. It's been a great honor for the last 4 years to serve as your mayor of our city. It's been a service that's just been an incredible experience, and I want to continue it, having done it. I am, I guess, that average citizen we hear about that ran for city council and was elected by you. This wasn't something I thought I'd do. I love our community, my wife, our children. I felt there was a need for a voice on the council I wasn't seeing when I got there 4 years ago. I want to continue the work I've started. I feel like a freshman who's now graduated from high school. I have the education to go out and do even better work in the following 4 years. I appreciate the endorsement of you in the last election. I'm asking for it again. Our firefighters have endorsed me again for this next 4-year term. Our police officers have endorsed me for this term as well. And public safety will continue to be one of my main focuses. I'm proud to say I've worked to help get schools built, shopping centers, new jobs to our community. But there's work to do, and I want to do 4 more years and finish it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Randy Shelton.
Good morning. I'm Randy Shelton, and I'm running for re-election for the Galt City Council. As Vice Mayor for the last 4 years, I have worked to make many positive changes in regards to public safety, the general plan, and the sphere of influence, bringing businesses and entertainment to the community. I am a strong supporter of public safety with the enactment of the Public Safety Committee, bringing back the Special Team Enforcement Program with financial funding to support that program, hiring a new police chief and additional officers. I am proud of what has been accomplished within the last 4 years, providing our city with a workable budget today, and I am proud to say we are more physically sound than we have been in the last 7 years. I ask for your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the last opening statement will be provided by Tom Mawson.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here. My name's Tom Mawson, and it's been 4 years since I was elected to your Galt City Council. It's been a challenging and fulfilling time for me, and a responsibility I take very seriously. As a Galt resident for the past 26 years, we share the same concerns. Over the past 4 years, your council working together has many accomplishments to its credit. To name a few: police STEP program, emergency operations plan, a method to actually fund public safety, reduced property taxes in our northeast area, supported a high school bond, and all this with 2.3% growth. In the next 4 years, we need to concentrate on 3 things: infrastructure, getting a handle on our wastewater permitting problems, moving out on our C Street overpass, completing and certifying our general plan with a 3.5% growth rate, and increasing our economic base and our ratio of jobs to housing. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. And now we'll move to the question and answer portion of our forum. And Rachel, if you could ask the first question, and it will be answered by Daryl, Andrew, and Tom in that order. Thank you.
Okay, this one's kind of split between the incumbents and the challenger. When it comes to the general plan process, Andrew, as a challenger, the process is well into its third year, I believe. Do you feel qualified, and how qualified are you to jump in running to a process that has so many facets and has been underway for so long? And to the incumbents, Daryl and Tom, why has the process taken this long, and is there an end in sight?
Thank you. And Daryl? Daryl, you will begin.
You heard a comment in actually the opening statements that the council's not open to your input. The fact is, we have taken the time we've taken for that reason exactly. We've now held 16 public opportunities to both inform and receive information from the public. We pledged when we were elected to involve you, and we've done that at every turn of the process. We've got about a year left now of the process. We are narrowing down the areas of study. We have an obligation to study the impacts of any decision we might make, and those are being looked at closely, and documents are being prepared. And we've continually reduced it as we've gone along, just as we reduced the number of options we're looking at in building our new interchange at C Street. So we'll continue to reduce, I suspect, the area, and we will reach a final conclusion. And when we do that, we will have received input from every one of you who've chosen to either attend, email, phone, or just stop me in Rayleigh's in aisle 4 and tell me what your views are, and that's some of the best conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. And then next, Andrew.
Thank you for the question, Rachel. In terms of the general plan, I think my biggest qualification would be the fact that I would listen to the voice of the people. This city conducted a survey with tax dollars to ask the residents of this community what we wanted to see with the future of our city in terms of growth. 61% of the people surveyed concluded that they were opposed to growth towards the Arno Road exit. Unfortunately, that was passed forward by our city council as an option for our general plan. I think that's a pretty good sign that the city council is not listening to the people. I won't sit up here and try to tell you that I'm more qualified than anyone else, but what I do think is my ability to listen to the common citizen in Galt is what separates me from the rest of these candidates. Thank you.
And Tom.
Well, going last, you've heard the history of our current general plan. Let me go back to 1989 when I was the chairman of the general plan committee then. What's taken a little longer this time is become more complex in our world of laws and EIRs and public hearings. And our city has actually grown quite a bit since then too. And so instead of having a series of half a dozen public workshops and hearings, we end up with 16 or more. And that's what's taken so long. The other thing too is this council chose to look at an expanded study area to understand what the impacts were on things like our Twin Cities overpass, which wouldn't have been done otherwise. And we would have been building a general plan without that in consideration. So that's taken some time. My 16 years on the Planning Commission leads me to believe that the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Ross, will you direct your question to Randy, Mary Lou, and Donald, and they'll be responding in that order.
Okay. Sticking with the general plan, do you support or oppose the proposed Del Webb development? And how far north on Highway 99 from Twin Cities Road should the city's boundaries be?
Thank you. Randy?
Yes, thank you for the question. I have been a proponent of the sphere of influence. I've promoted that from day one for 4 years. I believe that we need to go out as far as we can so that we could basically have control of what's going on in our community. This has been a long process, as with the general plan. I believe we've heard numerous comments from people, and we need to set that buffer between us and the community to the north. That's all I have right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Mary Lou?
Yes, I too believe we should go as far north as we can to protect our borders, so to speak. I don't want the county or anyone else telling us how we should move forward with our thoughts and plans for the future of the city. A lot of people in that area who have been longtime residents, though not Galt residents, have asked that we bring them in. They want a vote in what goes on in our city. Just because we send our borders out very far does not mean that we're all wishing for major, major growth. That just isn't the way it's going to happen. Things are market-driven, and things will happen when they're supposed to happen, I hope, in a logical order. So I do approve of all of the land being taken in as far as possible.
Thank you. And now Donald.
Let me tell you, no, we do not need to go all the way out as far as increasing the sphere of influence to Arnold Road when you're talking about going from 99 to, the Cherokee. We don't need all that. The reality is the only thing that's going to bring Elk Grove into our sphere of influence are the tax dollars. What we really need to do is we need to focus on that 99 corridor about a half mile to 3/4 out from the 99, run it down on Twin Cities Road about a half mile in. The rest of that land, we don't need to bring it in the sphere of influence. We need to leave it there as a buffer. The only thing that's going to bring Elk Grove down are the tax dollars. Once we bring that area in to our sphere of influence, we will control the retail and commercial. And that's what they would be coming down there for. That's the only thing I would support. There's no other reason to bring the rest of that land in the sphere of influence other than to build homes. I believe we need a buffer zone. I am very much into a green belt. I say you protect the retail, you protect the commercial areas that are best interest for Galt. Those are the tax dollars. That's what will improve the quality of life for the current people in Galt. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Rachel, your question will be going to Tom, Randy, and Donald.
Okay, one more general plan question. It is the focus of council at this point, and one of the major jobs that the new council of 2006 will continue into the future. The question is this: when it comes to the general plan update, sphere of influence, land use assumption designations that are currently being made, do you support the Mintier and Associate maps that were presented showing 2,000 to 3,000 acres of urban reserve within the SOI? Or do you support the contention that all of that land should have land use designations assigned to it prior to going to LAFCO?
Thank you. Tom?
Thank you for the question. You can take that and actually do it one of two ways. The way our consultants did it was to just call it urban reserve. And whether or not you actually put what I would call a tentative land use against it, it's still going to end up urban reserve simply because of the infrastructure. You can't supply that area with the infrastructure in probably the next 15 to 20 years unless those developers want to pay a tremendous amount of money to service their project, and I doubt LAFCO would even allow that because it would be called leapfrog development. So we've asked our consultants to come back and actually give us some options on what we could do with that urban reserve as far as pre-zoning it perhaps, but there would be some triggers in there as to when we would develop that.
Thank you. Randy?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to add to that with the land use, we have multiple property owners. And we as council, and I as a council member, we need to listen to what what they would like done with their property. I do not want to get the city into a litigation issue where we would decide it would be into one zone and then there's a possibility of litigation there. We need to listen, and I have listened to many of the homeowners, the developers, and there are some significant changes. I think it's fantastic that we are bringing in and listening to those individuals. Thank you.
And Donald?
I think it's important we do listen to the landowners, but at the same time, I think it's very much important that we listen to the citizens of Galt and that we are able to balance out these issues. If you can bring an area into the sphere of influence, what's going to happen eventually is you're going to have to designate it. You're going to have to zone that area. If you're going to be forced to do it, it needs to be urban. You want as much of a green belt as you possibly can. let me just say the easiest way to avoid this issue of whether or not you have to zone is simply you don't bring it into your zone of influence. You only take what you need. You focus on the, like I stated earlier, on the commercial and the retail issue, and you stay with that, and that's where I would leave it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ross, will you direct your question, and it will be answered by Mary Lou, Daryl, and Andrew.
Okay. How would you combat gang activity in Galt?
Mary Lou?
Gang activity in Galt, we need more police. You know, we don't have the structure and the form there to help with it. They have a graffiti task force, and they have the STEP program right now to work on helping crime in the area of Galt. Unfortunately, we need to keep that going. We need more tax dollars coming into our city so we can continue to support the police and to get more police out there on the streets to work on helping with the problems that we're having. They are increasing. We need an increase in dollars coming into the city to help support programs that we have already and need to continue having.
Thank you. Daryl?
Since we've been elected, this council has elected more new police officers than any council that has gone before it, and how I would continue that effort is just that we will continue adding police officers. The new STEP officers that we've just recently added are specifically targeting gangs. If you read our local newspaper, you saw they arrested 2 individuals from a drive-by shooting just last week, so it is working. We're going to continue it. We're also very proud, and Councilmember Payne, who's not here, began our I Love My Town program. And the work we're doing with the schools and the citizens and the neighborhood watches, getting people to really love their town, be involved, and teach their children to have respect for their property and others, I think is a tremendous effort in this area. You know, working with the police officers who I have, and as I say, thankfully being endorsed by them again in this election, I think we've created a team that's going to continue to do better and better as we go forward.
Thank you. And Andrew?
Thank you for the question, Ross. One of the things that I am really passionate about is making sure that when you have public service officers in Galt, that you give them a good package, something that makes them want to stay in the community. I think what you're seeing now is you're seeing a high turnover rate because our package that we're offering our officers isn't competitive. We have added police officers in the past, but we've added part-time positions as well as full-time positions. What I want to see is I want to see more full-time officers in Galt. I want to see development that comes into this community help finance our future police department. One of the biggest concerns that I had about the theater complex that just came into the community in the last 6 months was that we gave away a little over $1 million in revenue in terms of fees, taxes, and such. Now, what we got in return was a community center that is being constructed by the developer. Now, the most important thing that we need in the city is public safety and infrastructure, and I don't think that addressed the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidates, I need to allow enough time for closing statements, but I did say that you would have an opportunity to answer a question that wasn't necessarily directed to you. And if I go through another round of questioners from our panelists, that will be 2 more questions and 6 more answers, which would impose upon our closing statement time. So how about 30 to 40 seconds to address something that wasn't either asked or asked to someone else? And I'm just going to, I'll start with Daryl.
Okay, great. You know, when I ran for city council 4 years ago, as I said, I came out of the community as someone who was very interested to make a difference. And back then, I was the president of what was called the Galt Economic Development Task Force, and I've worked very hard to bring jobs to our town. Some of you still are commuting out of town, and I want to do more work for that. What we hope to do is to be able to create our city to have an economic future that supports itself. And I think we're well on that way. The 2020 vision was a name I came up with before I was on the council and was very honored when the council adopted it for our new general plan. and I'll continue to work to see on the 99 corridor jobs and shopping that we currently lack. The Rayleigh Center that we opened is a prime example of that since we've been elected.
Thank you. Andrew?
I wanted to address the question about the expansion area limits. There are some boundaries that I do agree with the current general plan update. I think we need to focus on developing towards the east because I think that there's the least amount of problems in that area in terms of development. I will support growth up the 99 corridor to Skunk Creek. I do want to see a permanent green belt between our city and the city to the north. And I want to make sure that when we bring in other residents into the city of Galt, that we are listening to their concerns and that we are making decisions that are beneficial to current residents inside of our current sphere and those who are outside of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tom?
Well, I could address any of these, but I think I'll choose the gang and police issue. It takes about $80,000 to $100,000 a year for each and every police officer, every year. Once you hire one, you can't just hire them with that amount of money for 1 year. It's every year with a cost of living index. Now, there's only two ways to increase our police services in town and get more officers. One is economic development, increasing our tax base. Speaking to the movie theater, that ground sat vacant for 20 years. We lost over $1 million in taxes, potential taxes, not having that property developed. We will be getting sales tax from that, and that can be used for police services. We have also done one other thing, and that is we've imposed a safety...
Need to conclude.
Okay. Safety and Public Works ordinance on new property, so for police officers.
Thank you. And then I'll get to the next three, but I do need to confess to the candidates that my math was not correct. And we would be concluding way too early if we ended with this question and went to closing statements. So there will be an opportunity for more questioning, but I apologize. So let's continue with this theme, though. So we'll go to Randy.
Thank you. I'll answer and enhance on the gangs. I would like everyone to know that, first of all, you can never have enough police or fire. With that said, it is everyone's responsibility on gangs, graffiti, and what's going on in your neighborhood and in our community. We need to have more neighborhood watch programs. We have a crime prevention officer that's be starting pretty soon. We have the Public Safety Advisory Committee. We're bringing in the schools, the Gang Task Force Committee. We're bringing in the clergy, Boys and Girls Club, and we're working and striving on, because I'm a member of that team, on education and enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mary Lou.
Hi, I want to kind of start with the police and the gang, but kind of put it into a broader picture of the economic development that we need to sustain the city of Galt. With only a 13% tax base coming into our city, we really need to bump up some businesses and get our local dollars back into our community. If you took, for every dollar you built, you made outside working, you only took 13 cents home, you'd be in a bit of trouble real soon. We really need money, and we need to get more businesses back into the community. Everything's money-driven. In order to get more police officers, in order to get anything, we need to sustain ourselves, and we're just not doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Donald.
Thank you. I'd like to touch on that myself. It is important that we get more public involvement. And one of the best places to start is with our CAPS program. It's an excellent program. We got some great people in it. We need some more volunteers. Some of the things we need to do is extend those hours, bring in more volunteers to help and assist our police department. In addition to that, again, as you've already heard, that we need to also increase the neighborhood watch. We need more people involved. But we need an outreach program. We need to be able to get out there, get to the public so that they know what the needs are for the community, and to bring them to a central location where they can get the information. That's why I've been involved with the neighborhood park parties. That's why I like to have those, because that's a location that they can come and get this information. Thank you.
Thank you. And now let's go back to our panelists. And Rachel, will you direct a question that will be answered by Daryl, Tom, and Mary Lou?
Do you support the proposed proposed agreement between the Galt Joint Union High School District and YCH communities for concurrent annexation into the city, should the general plan proceed to that level.
The plan that was brought to us was voted and approved by the high school board, who really has the jurisdiction over that. And in their agreement, they're asking for certain things from the city to allow up to $5 million to be contributed to the construction of the new high school. I suspect everyone knows how hard I've worked to get schools improved in our community, and glad to see that the high school is already underway. What we don't know yet, though, is whether that's a good arrangement for the school. And the City Council has just received that request. It's going to be reviewed by our Planning Commission first. They will then make recommendations to us, and in time we'll make a decision on it. So it's fairly new and fresh to us, and we're waiting to see what the ramifications of that are going to be. So please, speaking of input, please take a look at that and contact us and let us know what your views on that, because we will be deciding that in the near future.
Thank you. Tom?
The agreement. We haven't seen it yet, and as a city council member, one of the criteria is to keep an open mind and get all this information from the school, our staff, the developer, and then weigh it all and make the best decision that we can with that information. We haven't seen it yet. I do know the agreement between the school and the developer, and I can tell you this much, that the school itself probably cannot fund the infrastructure that it would take to build the school because of the location. So they're going to need some kind of development around that. How it fits into the city and the city's plans with annexation, we won't know until it goes through that public hearing process and gets to us and how it works. It may come out a little bit different than the agreement with the school. We don't know.
Thank you. And Mary Lou?
Yeah, I agree with Daryl and Tom on that. We haven't seen all the specifics about how it's going to take shape over there. We all do know that we need another high school. Just how we get it is what we have to be very cognizant of. And as a planning commissioner, when it comes to me, I will be looking at what is predicted to go around it, what is asked to go around it. I mean, we just have to take it one step at a time. We need to really pay attention to what wants to get built out around there, and we have not seen the final plans for any of that yet. So it's a wait and see.
Thank you. And Ross, I am sure that this is the last questions, and it will be directed to Donald, Andrew, and Randy.
Okay, since in many communities Walmart has stirred a lot of controversy, is Walmart a good idea or a bad idea for Galt?
Well, let me answer that for you. You know, there's a lot of trade-offs when you're talking about a Walmart, especially when you're talking about a big box store like that, because you've got to be willing to give up your small community look. You've got to be willing to give up that small community feel in many ways. Walmart brings in jobs, but at the same time, they could run off others. That's what the environmental impact report is for. It's to tell us. And without having that in front of me, I couldn't tell you one way or the other. Is it good for Galt? Well, you know what? In some ways it could be, because it brings in the sales dollars. And that's something that would help fund more police officers, which I'm very much for. But at the same time, I have concerns about the other areas that could be affected. And I'll give you an example, because when you bring in a large box store like that, you're talking about competing with places like Les Schwab, Ace Hardware, our grocery stores, the pharmacies, the bakeries. You know, that has a big impact. And one of the big things I'm about with our economic development is diversity. And I like that. So that's something that a big box store could restrict your ability to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew?
Donald already touched on some of my concerns with the Walmart. I can sit here now and tell you that as far as all of us know, Walmart really isn't an issue at the time. Walmart isn't planning on building in Galt now. But if you want to talk about big box stores in general, I want to make sure that when we bring in a retailer to Galt, it's servicing a retail need that we don't currently offer in Galt. I don't want to see overlapping retail. We all know that we need to create retail tax base in Galt. There are still services that are not offered in our community. You can't go to downtown and buy a t-shirt, buy shoes, and this is a big concern for people. People want the ability to shop local. People can't shop local unless you give them an option. You have to be willing to bring in the types of development that the community needs, and that's the #1 priority for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Randy?
Yes, thank you. Walmart. Well, first of all, there's been rumors floating around off and on for quite a while. I'd have to see the EIR. I cannot say yes or no, but on big boxes, I would have to see the complete package that would be proposed before saying yes or no. I am open to any large business that would want to come into the community. As a council member, I would listen, and I would want to sit down with them ahead of time and follow through the chain with having council talk, but more importantly, listen to the community, the citizens, and what exactly they would like too, because it does belong to all of us. The city does. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our question and answer portion of the forum, and now we are going to move to the candidates' closing statements. And as I mentioned before, they have 1 minute to do this, and I'm going to proceed in the same order as the opening statements, and I will start then with Donald Haynes.
Thank you. You've heard a lot up here today, and you know, the decision's in your hands. You've got a lot on the line for Galt. This is this is very important. You need to know that if this current council is brought back voted back in this next time, that sphere of influence will be increased. You will see Galt increase in size. The number of houses will go up. If you don't have public safety in place, that's something I'm very big on. I think it's going to be nothing more than more problems. I think it's very important that people get involved now as soon as they can. Listen, ask questions, get as educated as you possibly can before you make that vote, because this vote will really count, not just for this election, but for many years to come. And most of us will probably still be living there. So I really encourage you, and I thank you for your time, and I look forward to speaking to many of you as I'm walking out on the street talking to my neighbors and yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next closing statement will be provided by Mary Lou Powers.
Well, I have very worthy opponents, and I know that they all really care about the city. Why me? Well, a couple of reasons me. I worked in the business community in Galt for a very long time, and I know government very well, having been a staffer up in Sacramento City Hall for over 5 years. I really think that it's important. I think our most important thing is getting a tax base in town, and I will continue to harp on that. We do need more businesses. We need to work together with a positive attitude to see that Galt grows the way everyone wants it to grow, not haphazard or nilly-willy, but as the market is driven, we provide the services that we need. But we really first need to get some businesses in there, get some jobs in there, and get people wanting to stay in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Andrew Meredith will give his closing statement.
First of all, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for having us here for this forum this morning, and I'd like to thank all the other candidates for coming. I just want to reiterate what some of my top goals are if elected to the Galt City Council. I want to see a speedy end to the growth issue. There is decades of growth potential on our east side. It is wrong to punish property owners to develop responsibly while the city pursues wild daydreams about development. With our general plan update, we're looking at a time frame of 20 years, not 100. I think the growth plan that you see now is more aimed at a 100-year development scheme. I want to see a safer Galt. I don't have all the answers, but I will always be active in listening to the community and listening to the experts about what is important to make Galt safer. I want to see broad support from our city council for our school district. We need to do everything possible as a city to make sure that the school concerns in Galt are answered in a quick and timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next closing statement will be provided by Darrell Clare.
Thank you also to the League. 4 years ago, when you elected me to the City Council, I had told you there were a number of things I would do, and I'm proud to say that I've achieved most of those. One in particular was that I would take our city to regional government and represent us as it's never been represented before. And in those 4 years, I achieved the position of President of the League of Cities for the Central Valley. I am a board member on SACOG and head their Transportation Committee. Sitting in these very chairs, I got us an additional $18 million as an STA board member for our city's transportation issues. specifically for the C Street interchange. I've gone to our nation's capital repeatedly at no cost to our city because my employer allows me to go there for my work, and while I'm there, represent our city. And working with Congressman Lundgren brought back $2.4 million additional dollars for our interchange. The shirt you see I'm wearing has become known in the region as a little bit of its Daryl's uniform, but I'm proud to wear this in a series of shirts I've purchased so people know that Galt's in the room and that we're represented. I hope you'll send me back for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next closing statement will be given by Randy Shelton.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters. As a proud veteran of 40 years in the fire service and working in the public service, I am dedicated to serving the citizens in the Galt community. I thank the citizens of Galt for their support for the last 4 years and ask for their continued support and vote during my run for re-election. As your city council member, I will continue to strive to provide Galt with an infrastructure, emergency services, design communities, provide housing, schools, recreation, entertainment, and businesses. My greatest goal is to prepare our city for the future, and in doing so, it is vital to listen to the voices of Galt, preserving our past and planning our future. I will provide a leadership and be a voice of all those that I serve. I ask for your vote on November the 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our last closing statement will be provided by Tom Malson.
Again, thank you for the League having this forum today. It's hard to believe that almost 4 years have passed since I was first elected to our Galt City Council. It's been one of the greatest honors of my life and a responsibility I take seriously. The knowledge and experience I've gained on the Planning Commission for 16 years, 9 years on the Environmental Commission, Sacramento Environmental Commission, and 4 years on this City Council, also 4 years on the League of California Cities Public Works, Transportation, and Communications Subcommittee, provide an institutional knowledge that I bring to this position. Our city is on the verge of completing a new general plan, which will generate changes in land use, economic development, parks, city streets, how we access Highway 99, and city infrastructure. Now, more than ever, you need this kind of experience on your city council. My core priorities have always been public health, safety, environmental, and economic development. I want to continue to serve our community as one of your council members, and your support will be critical. Together, we can ensure that Galt remains a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. And I ask for your vote this November. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, I'd like to thank our candidates, Donald Haynes.
Thank you.
Mary Lou Powers.
Thank you for having us here.
Andrew Meredith.
Thank you for having us.
Daryl Clare.
Thank you.
Randy Shelton.
Thank you.
And Tom Malson.
Thank you.
And I also want to compliment them on their very succinct answers, which allowed us to get through quite a number of questions, and even if they were a little interrupted. I'd like to thank our panelists, Rachel Ackerman and Ross Faro. And I would like to thank our volunteers who, without you, we would not be able to make this forum possible. This forum has been designed to impart information to you, the voter, in accordance with our belief that a democratic government depends on the informed and active participation of its citizens. We hope that the insights you have gained from this forum will aid you in making your decisions come election time. For voter information and rebroadcast times, please visit our Smart Voter website at www.smartvoter.org, and this forum will be rebroadcast every Sunday until election time. So if you didn't get a chance to watch this time and your neighbors give you let you know when those times are, we hope that you will listen in again. Please vote on November 7th and help make our democracy work. Thank you.